the second render, we can create a new scene by clicking on new scene and copy settings. So now we have a new scene. I'll go back to the viewport shading, and here I would call it environment render. And here it seems like we have nothing, but we can actually bring the collections that we had because the collection exists in the file. They're just not loaded in this scene. So I'll come to this corner here and drag to the right, and I will change this panel to the outliner, and I'll go click on display mode and choose Blender file. And here I'll go to collections, and I will get back the base collection that has all the elements, which is this one. I click on it, click right, and then link to scene. Now this base element that provided is linked. So everything is within the same file. So the file can has multiple scenes, and each scene with its own camera and its own render settings. I will come to this corner here, and I will drag to the opposite panel to remove it. Here again, I'll zoom out. So in this one, I directly use these elements. We'll use this one, G, Z, put it here, and we'll put the building in this area. I will take the base building, GZ. Here I'm not duplicating because this is the second render, so I'll use directly the base file. And we will scatter some trees here, and we'll have some scattered rocks. So, and we have our road here. So we will fix a view first. So we will have this as our main view. This will be our main view, and I will go to the scene, create a new collection, and call it environmental render. And I will Shift A, create a camera wherever it's not a problem. I'll call it environment render camera, so it's not a problem. So this camera, F3 camera to view again, to align the camera to the current view. And here we should adjust the settings of the camera to 25 exteriors, 25 for the lens, and we can shift tilde key and adjust it with the WSD keys, like if you are in a game, and a more ground level experience for this one. So I will add in this environmental render, I will shift click right here and then shift A plane, and I will add, I'll scale up 100 times, JZ to move it a little bit in the same way here. Apply scale, and this will be our water body. I'll zoom out, so I need to extrude this. To extrude it, just give it a solidify modifier and increase it to 100. Oh, that's too much. 10 meters. So this will be our water body. So here we'll create a water material and give it a color in the viewport. This is just a viewport color. And for this one, we'll have some scattered assets here and some scattered asset there. So to scatter assets, what we need, a little bit of geometry. Now we don't have geometry, it's just a sub D. So what we will need to do is to actually separate these elements. So I'll scatter geometries in this area. So I'll do P, separate by selection, tab, and now this is separated. I'll have some trees here in the background where I'm working. I'm working on topography too. And I will have some scattered assets here and in this slope and this one. So tab, I'll take this one, Alt, and I click to select the whole edge loop. Alt again, Alt Shift to click this whole shift loop. So Alt the first one and Alt Shift the second one, and then B, selection again. Yeah, this got detached, but actually it's not a problem. I won't deal with it because from the view of the view camera we can't see it. So if you can't see it, like, it's not a problem for now. So this will be our main geometry. So I will apply the subdivision modifier here. Apply subdivision modifier. Why? To have enough geometry. Actually, this geometry is not enough. I will add another subdivision, control 1, an additional subdivision. Yeah, and then apply. And save the file from time to time because you might lose your data if the computer crashes. So now we have enough geometry so that we can weight paint here. And in this one, yes. So we will have here a road material. So in this one here, Alt, and I click the whole thing, and I will do as I'll create a new road material. I'll give it for now just a gray color. In the viewport as well. Oh, I need to create two road and sides. For the sides, we won't apply anything for now. So Alt and Shift Alt again to create the second loop, to select the second loop, sides, assign. So this is our road, and this would be the ground. New, I'll call it ground, and I'll give it just a color for now. And that's it. These are our main elements. Yes, this is also part of the road. I want to keep this area here. Alt, select everything. Shift H to have it only, to have it selected, isolated. Tab, select these, and I'll keep them as sides, assign. Tab back, and then Alt H to show everything else. So now I need to scatter trees here. To scatter trees, let's, before scattering, just apply the materials. Tilde key, view camera, and see what we have so far. So I'll create a base environment. I'll click on world, new, and I'll click on colors and go to the sky texture. Do 0.1 because this is very exposed, and then I will move the sun again from, like, it should be lit from the side, from the back, not from the front, because if you light from the front you lose all details. I'll give more ozone 5 to get a bluish texture, and I will rotate the sun over there just a little bit there, and then I'll go down sun elevation just a little bit like a sunset to get some textures. Shift Alt Z to hide the overlays, Shift Alt Z to hide and show the grid and the overlays. Just remember that, because I'm using that key a lot. So here the water is easy, just transmission, increase the transmission, and then again alpha is shadow. If it's shadow, it will be transparent, so I invert this one. And then the roughness 0.1, and I will give it some water texture in the normal by having a noise texture. Noise texture, Control Shift, and we will see what's happening here. I need to zoom in, maybe 100, yeah, or 200, just to get these waves. And then I will use Shift A, I will use a bump node, and I will drag the noise in the height, and this will give us the normal alpha here, and then Control Shift into BSDF, and we'll get like a texture like this. Yes, it's starting to work. And then to give the water more depth, I will add an absorption an absorption node, and you will see what will happen. And I will give it a little bit bluish color and have a very low density 0.1. This will give this ocean-like effect, this bluish ocean-like effect. Here the reflection are not really good, so the strength, I'll reduce it to 0.1. No, now it's better. Just enough strength to have reflections. I can GZ to increase, get it higher. That's good. Now I'll add some materials for the ground. If I go to the material ground here, this is the basic principal BSDF. I'll go to the files and I'll drag these rocks materials, select all of them, drag them and drop them here. So I need to organize them. This is rock 22, and the second one oh no, this is 22 and 2, 22 to the top, and also just organize them. This is the color. So always make sure, this is important, that the normal map is non-color, and wherever we apply to this material, we apply to the second one. So I'll have Control T, G to move this, vector here, both of them. I will do a box mapping, Alt, click both of them, so both of them are box. Color, this one should go to a normal map. Usually in texture, I take only normal map and color map, and the others I'll just adjust them. Normal map to the normal, and then object to the vector, point, texture, and now we can see the tiling. So these are our rocks. I'll increase this one to 2 or even to 5. That's too much. Let's just keep 2 and remove the specularity. We don't need the specularity. 3, maybe a little bit. And I can adjust like everything else with the hue and saturation node. 2 for the color, for the brightness, just for the value. To make that random over there, what we do, take objects, drag from here, Voronoi, texture, and then this will give me Control Shift. If I click here, it will give me this. I'll adjust the scale to be 1 or 0.5 for instance, and for each color it will be like a different rotation. 0.2 or 0.3 is a good value. So for each position here, it will have a different location. And now it's became random. What I would do, I just add a multiply vector math here, and I will select all of them and adjust them, and we will see like they are moving like in a random way. We can do this also to the rotation. I'll take a combine, but I need just to rotate, combine XYZ. I need just to rotate in the Z, like to have this rotation being different in each Voronoi island. I'll drag the color to the Z and this to the rotation, and I have now a random rotation. This is a more randomized texture now. The second texture will be exactly the same setup, so I'll just duplicate all of this, Shift T, and put it here, and I will select everything and group it, tab to go back, and I will call this one Rock 1, and this second one, Control Shift. I will delete these textures and replace them with those. J to move. So vector, I can press Alt and drag with the right mouse button, Alt, drag with the right mouse button, and then non-color, flat box, flat box, and then color to the color, color to the, and we have our second material, and this is smaller rocks here, because the key in realism is mixing. Here we can adjust like randomness again, and we can have smaller, or this one can be a little bit smaller. So if it's smaller, then this one should have smaller tiles, smaller randomization tiles like this. So it's completely randomized. So I select all of this, Control G, tab to go back, because I grouped them, and then rocks 2. Technically, you have your materials set, and you make your own material library so that you have this process more streamlined. Here we can see like the volume absorption of the water reacting to the rocks. So we will mix this with the weight paint. We will do a mix shader, put it here. So, and we have 2 shaders, so we mix between them. What will be white and black. So to mix them, we will use what we call vertex paint. What we used for proximity, we will add one here and call it this rocks mix. And we take the same name, we copy it, and we use it here as an attribute. Attribute, we paste it, rocks mixed, and put the factor to the factor here. But because everything is 0, that's why we see nothing. So what we do is Control Tab, and we go to Weight Paint. Here in Weight Paint, I should have Shift Alt S. Shift Alt S to have the overlays. Not Shift Alt Z. Shift Alt Z to get the overlays. Shift Alt Z. And now we can paint this. And whatever we paint, like we are creating, like this will be mixing the material. If I do Shift Alt Z, I can see the material being actually mixed, like if I am painting in the material. I'm painting here. If I want to do the opposite, 0, and I can paint the other one. I guess I shouldn't have any specularity. Oh no, I don't have specularity in any of them. So this will give us more complexity in the terrain. I can come here, increase the weight, and have again here. Because it's rocky, I prefer to use the fall off instead of smooth. The fall off should be just the constant. So when I click, it's a complete, it's coloring the whole thing, and there is no gradient, almost no gradient. Shift Alt Z to go back. And I can randomly paint them. And this randomness is what actually brings realism. Because in reality, we don't have everything with the same material. We always have gradients. And we are painting in the vertex, so if you hover over something that is not vertex, you won't paint it. That's it. Then Control Tab, and go back to object mode. That's it, we have this painted. Now we need to scatter some objects. I'll go back to the render preview, and I want to scatter trees here. So what I will do is I click on this object, go here. There's still a subdivision. I don't need the subdivision. Okay, I'll apply the subdivision here. Apply this one as well. And I will add a geometry node. I'll go here and I'll choose geometry nodes. And then I will create a new one and call it scatter. I will use the same geometry nodes, and I will use it to scatter multiple elements. So I will make the same definition. Tilde key, frame all. So we have the geometry. So what we will do basically is distribute some points. Today, distribute point on faces. Use this node. This will give a lot of points. Bring density down to 1. So the density should be really, really low. And what I would do is I would control geometry node. It's a custom modifier. I will drag density, the density here, and I will make something really low, 0.1, 0.05. Don't increase this value because it might crash your computer. And then I will use instance on points, and I will instance the trees. I'll go to assets, and we have I will instance both of these, so I'll put them first in a collection, and I'll call it trees. I'll put them in a collection called trees. It's this one. So I go back, yeah, this is the base model. I was about to lost it because it's just a point now. So what I will do after, yeah, there's just points. I need to show the overlay. We can't see it, but it's here. So to be able to see it, I will just add Shift A, join geometry. Now we'll join the original geometry back. So we have both the scattered assets and the, if I click on Control Shift, this will view only the points. This is a small viewer node, but it's not the real material. The real geometry is in this output. So this is just to view the points, to adjust the density. Delete it. So now I'll use this tree collection, and I will choose separate children, reset children, and it will use the trees as instances. And I will chase pick instance, and we have the trees that are scattered, and I can control them from here. 0.1, I'll control the density from here. And also we can control the scale. We make it random value for the scale. So I'll choose float. So here, this is the minimum, instance 1, and this is the maximum. And I need to put these in the input. So minimum, maximum of scale. So I have here density, minimum, maximum that I can control from here. So this is the minimum, this is the maximum, and it's easily adjustable. And this is the density. Please pay attention, don't have a high value here. And if I go back again to I need to move the water a little bit, GZ, just a little bit. Now we can see if I click on these trees, I can adjust like the height and the smaller ones and the big ones. We can have 2 layers, one in front of the other one with lower trees, another one with higher trees, just to have a little bit more. Can preview, it does look good. Let's just add a little bit more density, 0.4, and have some higher values here. Control save, let's go back. Now we will scatter some rocks. So I will put the rock in a collection. We can have a collection of rocks, and I will use the same exact I'll click on this here, and I will add Shift A, I'll add the geometry node, and I will use exactly the same scatter geometry node that we used, the same one. But this time, oh no, it created a larger density, so I should have it disabled. Just disable it before choosing this so that it's not applied, and have always a very low, start with a very low number. Now it's scattering trees all around, but this is not what we want. So we have to have the collection also as an input. So the collection should be an input. So instead of trees here, we will choose the rocks. Here is the rocks that we just created. There's just one rock. So we choose here rocks, collection, and now we have rocks that are scattered. So I need just to increase this. So we already have that. I'll increase 0.1, and this is the how big and how small. What we need to do here is there's another thing, is that the rocks should be oriented to the rocks should be oriented to the surface normal. So to do that, there's a node for that. Is we just choose align rotation to vector. Make sure like this, it's not interfering with any other node. So I take the normal, align rotation to vector. So this is the vector and this is the rotation, and put it in the rotation. And now we have the rocks that are aligned with this, with the surface. Also, we want to paint the rocks. So we want the density to come from the paint. If I do 1, yeah, it will be a lot. 0.5. We want this density to be controlled with the paint, and we can actually have that. Just go here and add another one and call it rocks scatter. And I will go back here and press on this one and choose rocks scatter. Now the density is controlled not by value, but of course with the same thing with the paint. Control tab and go to weight paint and choose rock scatter, not rock mix. And then wherever we paint, we have rocks that are scattered. I need here the fall off to not be constant, but rather smooth. And I'll go back to the removing what I already did. So, and I weight paint, and then we can scatter some rocks here. They will look good from under the water. That's it. We need here to add a value. Control tab to go back to object mode. We need here to control this density because the density is between 0 and 1, and we want to control what is the 1 value. So we add a multiply here, drag this and have a multiply math and put it here. Or you can do Shift A multiply, Shift A math node like this. When you choose a math node, you choose multiply. I delete this one just to show you how to do it. Put density here and multiply the value here. So this multiplication is what the density 1 will be equal to. So this is the maximum. Like if I increase it to 1, you see the rocks increasing. 2, you will see the number of rocks increasing. This is to control the density 0.1, 0.2. So this same geometry nodes, of course, is used here. So the density is now also controlled with this. We should keep it here just 1. Oh, that's too much. So the density is multiplied by this. The same thing here. The density that comes from the rock scatter weight paint is multiplied by this value. So 1. And let's take a look. Tilde key, view camera, and then look. See what it's doing. And then we have the rocks here. And the rocks values are really big. Do 0.5 to 1. And increase the density to 3, and then this even more to this is something almost good. And then we will add now grass, and for the grass we will use exactly the same one. We'll just have to duplicate it. So I'll disable this one for now and then just duplicate it again, and I will be using this for grass. So I'll add another one and I will call it grass, and I will add this as driven by the grass, and in this I'll use grass elements. Because grass we have nothing now, we have to control. You have to enable that, and then Control Tab, go to weight paint again, and Alt Shift Z to see, and now we are painting some grass. I'll paint the grass in the top here. If I zoom in and Control Tab and go back to object mode, Alt Shift Z so that I can see what's happening, and then the value here I can increase it to have more grass. I need to rotate the sun to be able to see what's happening a little bit. And then I will go back to the object modifier and enable the rocks. Now we have both of them and we can see what's happening. 30. I might add some grass. Control tab to the weight and make sure that I am on grass, not on rocks, not on rocks scattered. I can add like 0.5 to have less density. Yeah, because make sure to have some as 0. We want this gradient. This is what creates a beautiful landscape. We shouldn't have everything as 1. Okay, so control tab, object mode again, back. And this is basically how we can make like the train. I'll add now the road. So Shift H to isolate the road. And for the road, I will add a road material. Go back to the shader here, shader editor. And I will add the road. It's just a basic road. Color, but here I need to adjust the UV mapping. I'll drag here to get a new one, and I go to the UV editor, go back here. So, and I will choose here the road texture as a base for the UV mapping. So I press on Shift Alt Z to show the tab. I'll select all of these and I will do UV, press U, and then unwrap, and I will choose reset. I reset them, they will all fit, and then U again, and I will go to unwrap, follow active quads, and then okay. Now they are aligned, all of them. I have just to select all here, rotate 90 degrees, and then J and drag them here and align them, scale all of them, J, S, just to have the road aligned as it should be. I could press Alt Shift S here to see what's happening, and then S, X, S, scale in the Y, and now the other side, S, Y, S and Y to have S and Y to have a better scale, S and Y, and that's it. This is a good one. Alt Shift Z to see again, and tab to go back to object mode. And I think I can drag from here to this side to remove the panel. And now we have a very good UV mapped road. I can remove the specular here from the road, and I can add a quick noise texture, increase this value here 100, and I can have it here linked to position instead of the UV. Have one, this is a good one, and I do a color ramp. This is just to add some puddles quickly. I pressed accidentally H, so this will be our puddles. So these puddles, what's darker will be reflective, so I put this in the roughness and we will get kind of a puddles. Shift, zoom in again, Alt Shift Z. I need just to adjust it a little bit to have more darker areas, and this will give us some puddles. And then Shift View Camera, and then Alt H to show everything else, and this is almost the final render. I'll just need to add the car. Okay, so I'll go here to the solid view. Where is the car? Yeah, I just need to add this car, so just take the model car. This is a collection, and just do J, Z, and move it. J, Shift Z, and move it here. And then to place it, I'll snap again using the same snapping tool, and then J, and it will snap automatically rolled, and then rotate Z and have it there. J, Shift Z. I'll go to top view maybe to adjust this better. That's good. And now I have the car there. And I think for the tutorial to not get too long, I'll stop here, and because I wanted to show you how to make that strip go in here, but that's fine. Yeah, there's I think it's enough. Yes, there's one final thing, which is the compositor. Click here, choose the compositor always, and then go to here and go to compositor, and this is post-production thing, use nodes, and this will take the render and apply, let's apply a glare to it. You can apply multiple glare, use bloom, and increase the threshold like to 2 or 3. This just gives some bloomish. We can also apply a lens distortion and add dispersion 0.1. Always subtle. Something like that, just to give it some filmic view. And this is for this tutorial. It's a long one. I hope you can follow along. You'll be able to follow along and to use it. Oh, before I finish, one thing that is really important, which gives this cinematic effect here, is the I'll go here and I'll just put a box, Shift S here, cube. I make a big cube, a huge one, and this cube will be our volume. I will go to visibility here in the object properties, visibility, and I will show it just as a wire. Viewport display, and I'll choose just wires, just to avoid it intersecting with. So for this one, I will just create a simple material, very simple material. I will call it volumetric. And in this volumetric, I will remove this. I don't need it. There will be no surface, nothing in the surface. So whatever is here is exactly what you would find in the shader. Is exactly what we have in the shader. Tilde key, frame all. It's the same thing we have in the shader. So this is the surface and this is a volume. And in the volume, I can drag it from here and add a volume scatter. So this will scatter like a fog. You see it. It's very dense. So I'll do something very like this. And I'll choose something very, very small. 0.005 and tilde key, view camera, and you will get this fog effect. But this is very slow. So there is a workaround to get something better, is that I will plug an emission. Just plug an emission to the volume and make it very, very small. And this will give almost the same result, but faster. It's a volumetric emission that gives this. So if I go down, where is our cube? So this is without the cube, this is with the cube. And I will make this cube not interact, like only, no shadow, no volume, nothing. Only the camera, only affecting the camera, so that it's faster. 0.7, something like that. And you could adjust the value to have a bit more. Okay. That's it for today, and I hope you can follow along. And if you have any questions, just ask me.